Well, I'm very happy to have both of you here, and chance made it nicely for you to come just when it was time for having lunch, so that I could offer you something to eat.
Nice.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, I am Belgian. I am here in the Medoc region since 1997. Chateau de Come was the first vineyard I bought here at the time, and it was in a rather bad shape. It used to be very important. It was created in the years 1840, so about 160 years ago, and 75 years ago. And it used to belong to an important patrician family here in Saint Estephe. But due to the ages and to all the various generations, it became very small. It was about 80 hectares when it was created. And when I bought it, there were only 2 hectares left. But it's extremely good terroir of clay, sand, and chalkstone, which matches perfectly with the blend of 50% Cabernet Sauvignon and 50% Merlot we are having right now. That will change a bit because I'm a great friend of Petit Verdot, and I also just planted 3 years ago a plot with Petit Verdot, which we have been harvesting now this year for the first time. We are very concerned about the warming of the earth and about everything which is going on for the time being in the wrong way. So, as from this year, 2018, Chateau de Come will be labeled as organic biological wine. We've also been producing since now 4 years wine without adding any sulfites, which means that this is absolutely pure wine. And I've also been harvesting my first crop of white wine, which, by the way, is absolutely excellent, and which is a blend of 65% of Sauvignon Blanc, of 20% of Sauvignon Gris, and about 15% of Semillon. And we've been tasting the wine with a group of British œnologists and sommeliers this week, and they found the wine absolutely all right, although it's the first crop and it still has to improve. Now, the way we do it is to be as close as possible to nature, and when you taste the different vintages, you will notice that there is like red kind of rope going through the various years. The consistency of the aromas and of the quality is, I think, present. And of course, with the various evolutions you have in the wine due to the atmospherical situations of various vintages. Now, we are proud of our history. Chateau de Come was mentioned in the first edition of the Guide Ferret des Vins, which is the most famous guide of the wines of the Bordeaux region, which started in 1853. And we took it up from scratch again and built it up to something which today is extremely valuable. It is not very big. We have 7 hectares for the time being, and I think we will grow a little more when time comes and when we find plots of the quality we are looking for. The wine is, in my view, modern. in the way that it is not influenced by the trend which Bob Parker tried to put in the wine growing and making all over the world. I'm personally in favor of wines with a lot of finesse, with a kind of aristocratical touch, with a lot of fruit, a lot of delicacy, soft tannins, a long length in the mouth. And in fact, you can say that Chateau de Come lies between Saint Estephe and Saint-Julien. It has the strength and the body of the Saint Estephe, but yet also the delicacy, the sweet flavors, the touch, silky touch in the mouth of the Saint-Julien. It's not a blockbuster, but it's delicacy and it is pleasure. Well, in fact, the reasons we have this finesse and this elegance and the nice complexity of aromas between red fruit and black fruit, with in fact a hint more red than black, which is not that easy in Saint Estephe to achieve, but what we do have here in Chateau de Come is that in fact I'm telling you clay, sand and chalkstone. 50% Merlot on clay. And personally, I believe that the quality of the clay we are having in Saint Estephe is comparable with what people say that the best clays in the Bordeaux region are on the right bank in Saint-Emilion and Pomerol. And I think that in Saint Estephe we also have excellent quality of clay. And that gives you this velvety, this round, this little fatty feeling that you have when the wine comes into your mouth and covers your palate. Then there's a nice touch of silk in that wine. Next to the velvet, it's nuanced, and that comes from the Cabernet Sauvignon on the sand, which I didn't know, and most people in fact don't know that Cabernet Sauvignon reacts very nicely on sand. It gives you a lot of finesse and silky tasting. And to end up, of course, the Cabernet Sauvignon on the chalkstone, and here we have a lot of chalkstone, like in the best plots of Champagne. And that brings you, of course, the vertical aspect of the wine. Cabernet Sauvignon is the backbone of the wine in the Médoc region, and that gives you the most of color, the most of tannins, and the most of aromas. So between the nice, fatty, rounded, velvety aspect of the Merlot on the clay, that silky, elegant tasting on your tongue and mouth of the Cabernet Sauvignon.
And this is the 2013 vintage?
Yes, 2013, where most people said it was not nice in the Bordeaux region. I think it is excellent.
I think it's absolutely delicious. And it has that finesse and elegant aspect to it that one would hope to get, but not always happens.
Really nice, yes.
And we just tasted the 13.
Yes.
And now this is the
14.
14 in the glass.
14 in the glass, which is a bit more bodied than the 13. The 13 is a nice, very reachable wine, gives you a lot of pleasure. This one is a little bit more sun and comes over a bit more typical of Saint Estephe. As I said before, the 13 is towards the Saint-Julien a little bit more. Well, that's the pleasure. I think every time difference within the same background. 2 days ago, when these friends from London were coming over from the Connaught Hotel and Annabelle's Club, etc., one of the sommeliers who was present asked me which vintage I prefer. And I told him I like them all.
Yeah, absolutely. After all, they are your children, right?
Exactly, that's what I told him. I said, they are my children, they're all different, and I can't say I do prefer that one to the other ones. I can say now, for instance, 2016 is one of the best combs I made since 1997, so that's a fact of life, one cannot hide that. But for the rest, they all have their interests, they all have their different personality, and that's what makes being a wine grower so interesting and in fact so attracting.
You know, we're having this, I might mention, with some cold lamb, which is absolutely delicious, green beans, and
Gratin dauphinois.
gratin dauphinois.
Gratin means which has been in the oven with cheese on top, you know?
Yeah.
So that leaves a nice little crust.
And the wine matches perfectly with
It
this.
is.
Yeah.
Because the leg of lamb is a little strong. There is some garlic.
Well,
I said garlic.
you said
I said garlic. Oh,
I said
I
garlic.
didn't.
Yes, I said garlic. You said Mediterranean, so garlic.
Exactly.
No.
Well,
I did say garlic.
there's some garlic in the meat as you can taste.
Yeah.
we were staying a few years ago on an island in the middle of the Rhone River, right outside the capital of the Rhone region.
Lyon.
No, the Rhone.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, well, you're right. But this
I would hope
this
he's
was
right.
down in Provence, okay, and
The capital of the Rhone River, what was that? Valence? No?
no,
Not
it
Valence?
was Avignon.
Avignon, yeah.
Yeah, Avignon. Anyway, we were staying at a bed and breakfast, and the lady of the house originally had come from Italy, and she was fixing dinner one night, and I was filming her, and she said, "Do you like garlic?" I said, "Yes." She says, "In Provence, we put garlic in everything." And it was delicious. We had a lovely time.
Yes.
This 14 is definitely a bigger wine than the 13.
That's nice, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It fills the mouth the way it should. And it's got nice flavor.
It does. It's
Beautiful complexity. A bit of strawberry, a bit of raspberry, a wee bit of wildberry too, and some cassis. I think it's
Yeah, I definitely got the
nice
cassis.
glass of wine.
well. So far, I like both of them, and like your children, they're both different.
Absolutely,
So-
absolutely.
We're now tasting with this delightfully diet chocolate cake.
But you know,
The
chocolate.
2016, right?
In fact, nice Medoc wine, when it is a bit strong, goes very well with chocolate.
Absolutely. We do it all the time.
And even if the chocolate is a bit, has some sugar in it, the wine stands it really well. And therefore, I was not anxious to have you tasting the 16 with this chocolate cake. Although the 16, in my view, is probably the best comb I have produced up to now.
Yeah. I'm trying to recall what the 2016 vintage was like weather-wise.
Extremely warm.
Yeah,
Extremely warm, yet with a lot more water than what we received in,
I remember that.
in 2018. 2017 was not really consistent as far as the sunshine is concerned. We had good sunshine, but then with rain in between. But 2016 was like this year, but with shower when we needed them. And especially about end of August, early September, we had quite some water. So that, and we started harvesting around September the 20th. So that the wine stocks had the time to absorb the water, to distill it a bit. It takes about 48 hours before the water from heaven goes into the grapes. You see, going through the soil, through the roots, and coming up from the roots into the fruit. And then you have a dilution effect, and after some time this dilution effect stops, but you get a wine which is more balanced than when it has only sunshine like we have this year. But I'm fully biological organic, which means to say that I have the right to protect my vineyard again, because we had a very difficult summer regarding mildew, black rot.
Right.
And at some time we had finished the number of treatments we can use, and they are of course not chemical treatments, they are just natural. Mainly what we call bouillie bordelaise, which is kind of dates back to the half of the 19th century. There's a bit of copper in it, but not very much. Therefore, it's all organic products. But if you have a harsh attack of mildew, you can't resist enough. So I lost about 40% of my production.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Significant.
yeah, that's a big chunk of wine. So, but the wine will be excellent, very concentrated, because there wasn't enough water, but absolutely beautiful quality. Beautiful quality.
Yeah, earlier today we tasted barrel tastings, not barrel tastings, but actual just the drawn juices from the 2018 Cabernet, Merlot, and Petit Verdot.
Yeah.
And they drank like a finished wine. So I have great anticipation that the 18 is going to be,
Right.
even though the volume may be limited, the quality will be very high.
I'm a great friend of Petit Verdot too. I planted about 1 hectare of Petit Verdot at Chateau de Come, and I just planted half an hectare of Petit Verdot at Chateau de Come, which we harvested this year for the first time. And it's going to be excellent too, excellent.
So you will add a little bit of the Petit Verdot to the Merlot and Cabernet.
I love the Petit Verdot. Robert, if you go in the vineyard a day or two before harvesting, and you put some of those nice bays of Petit Verdot in your mouth, then you get some nice black juice coming from your mouth coming down, and you have this. Petit Verdot is very spicy.
Yeah, a lot of pepper.
A lot of pepper, and you get that peppery, spicy taste in your mouth with a lot of sweetness coming from the sugar. It's absolutely delicious. You need, if you like to make wine with a little bit of personality, you want a bit of Petit Verdot. And in the Chateau de Come, I will have, yes, I will have about 7% of Petit Verdot.
Wow. That's a fairly high ratio.
Yeah. And I think that will be absolutely all right.
You know, we have friends in Umbria, in a small town called Montefalco, that produce outstanding wines from the Sagrantino grape. And they take that grape and they make it into what they call pasito, which is a sweet wine.
Yeah, sure.
And it's magnificent. Maybe you could make a little pasito with your... yeah, it might be a new trend.
Yes. Maybe I've got, yes, maybe I can have space for that. But yes, before I crush it.
Yes, interesting. Well,
I can leave it for a day or two.
yes, Baron, thank you so much, not only for the interview, but for the lunch, because we sorely needed it. And